Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is a part 2 of Kubernetes crash course for .NET developers. So if you are directly coming to this video, I will recommend you to watch part 1 first and then maybe you can continue off for part 2. So before we start this part 2 sections, let's have a recap of previous sections and then we can continue. So in the previous video, we discussed about the Kubernetes architectures and what is a master node, worker node, and all the components of master node and worker node, in the master node, etcds, API server, scheduler, and then in the worker node container runtime, kubelet, kube proxy, all that stuffs we discuss, and after that we discuss about the pod, what is a pod, and then we created a pod with the Nginx, and, and we try to access this Nginx because we know it's on Nginx run on port 80, so we try to access it from the browser, but we were unable to access it, and then we realized like we need to expose because we are running Nginx under the container and it is not exposed to outside world. And to verify, we then we try to execute uh, curl command inside the container, and we got the shell inside the container, and we through curl command we try to access the Nginx with port 80, and we were able to access it. So that's all we did in the previous video. Now let's move to the current video. And today again we are going to create a pod. And this time instead of Nginx, we are going to create a pod for .NET Core Web API. We are going to create one Web API, and then previously we created pod with the command, but this time we are going to create a pod with the YAML file. So how can we create the pods with the deploy YAML file deployment declarations? So let's start. So let's create one sample Web API project, and I'm going to give name as Hello Kubernetes, and let's select create new project and Web API here, and Hello Kubernetes as a name I'm giving. Click next. This is on .NET 8. Click on create, and this should create our Web API project. So just let's wait for it. It's still loading. Yeah, it's created Web API project and solution is loading. So just let's wait for solution to be loaded and available for us. So yeah, now I can see solution as well. So all these files are default generated files, and I'm not going to make any changes. And here you can see that weather forecast controller is there. And if you are running in the development mode, if you will see this here, if environment is development, so even we can see the Swagger as well. So let's try to run and see the Swagger page before we create image and Docker file and other steps. So let's run this solution. So I can see this one get method for weather forecast, and let's try it out. And I am seeing some response. Okay, so now to create a pod as discussed previously, we need to containerize our applications, right? We need to we need to create a Docker file. From Docker file, we will create a Docker image. Then from Docker image, we will create the container, and then container is running inside the pod, right? So to understand all this in details, maybe I have this another video Dockerize your .NET in just 10 minutes, and there is one more video to run your application with HTTPS protocol. So there are a few other steps we need to follow to run your Dockerize application with HTTPS. So You can find both the videos link in the description block. So I will recommend before continue, you should go with this. We are going to create a Docker file for our applications and few steps we are going to follow. But if you want to understand more, I will recommend you to go with both of that videos first. So let's go back to our application. So as discussed in the previous section also, we need Docker file and I'm going to use Visual Studio to generate a Docker file. So with Visual Studio, it is very easy. You just right click on your solution and when you will click on, when you will select add, then you can see that Docker support. Click on that and I'm going to keep operating system as a Linux and then click OK. So this section will generate a Docker file and Docker ignore file for you. So let me show you this. Here you can see that this Docker file is generated and all the instructions, all the steps is automatically generated through Visual Studio. So we are not going to make any changes on this Docker file. Now, next step is to create a image from this Docker file. So navigate your terminal where you are having a solution file. So at this locations, right here we have hello kubernetes.sln file, that solution files. Let me list out here as well. So here you can see that hello Kubernetes, this one folder we have and this solution file I'm having. At this locations, I'm going to create a command. I'm going to write a command to create a Docker image for our hello Kubernetes applications. And in the video descriptions, I'm sharing the link with all the commands which we are going to use in this uh, part of the sections. And you can see all the commands here as well. So first command to build the Docker image, we will write Docker build. Then we need to give the tag here. And the tag you should give like suppose let me show move to the Docker Hub first, and let me log into the Docker Hub. So Docker Hub is a place where you can store your images, Docker images. So let's see. Let me open Docker Hub. And currently I don't have any repository, but you should use this username whenever you are building your images, right? So whatever username you are having, just take that username and it should your image name should be prefixed with this username. Then you can give slash and then you can give any repository name. But this is a naming conventions we need to follow when we are going to push your Docker images on Docker Hub repository. And if you are using any other cloud provider, so then you can skip this and you can push your repository to maybe AWS ECR and or any other cloud provider, whatever you are using, then you can skip that. But if you are using Docker Hub, so you need to follow this naming conventions. So image name should be your username here, then slash, and then the any name you can give. So let's give DUBEYTAPN12. This is my username. In your case, you need to give your username, then slash, and then any name we can give. So here in this case, I'm giving hello Kubernetes here. And now we need to specify the file locations where we are having the Docker file. So this is folder, right? Hello Kubernetes. If we will move here, so under hello Kubernetes, we are having this Docker file. So at this locations, I need to define here, right? So I will say hello Kubernetes slash Docker file. And after that, we need to from where we are running this. So we are running as a root. So I can just add dot here. Let me add dot here and let's hit enter. So my command execution is started, and it is going to create our Docker images. It is uh, going in the different layers, and you can see that build 1 of 7 is starting, then 4 of 7 is running, and it will take some time. So let's wait for it to complete and let's come back on this. So now my command has completed successfully, and let's verify in with the Docker images command. Docker images command is used to list all the images. So I'm going to run Docker images, and here you can see that I can see this new image Dubey Tapan 12 slash hello Kubernetes. So now you need to log in on Docker Hub, because we are going to push these images on Docker Hub, right? So uh, if you will see Docker, if you will run Docker login command, so I'm already logged in. I have already logged in with this. So maybe first let me log out and then log in. So I have logged in. Let's clear this for better visibility. Now I am running Docker login. So it is asking for username. Username I'm going to give same username what we saw in the Docker Hub. In password I'm going to give my password. You can give your password here. So after giving a valid username and password, you can see that your login is succeed. Once you have logged in, let's clear this again. Let's run Docker images. Once you have logged in, now you can push your image to Docker Hub. So I will run command docker push, and what you are going to push this image, right? So just copy this image name and paste it here, and let's hit enter. So it started pushing in the layers. So let's wait for it. And once it will be pushed successfully, then we can verify that same repository on the our browser window, and it should be visible there as well. So let's wait for this command to complete, and then we can verify same on Docker Hub. So this is the last step. Now hopefully this should complete. Yeah, so our image is pushed successfully to Docker Hub. Now let's go back to our browser, and here in the repository currently we don't see anything. Let's refresh this page. And now we can see that Dubey Tapan 12 Hello Kubernetes has been successfully pushed less than a minute ago. Now next, if you remember last time when we created our pod, so we created deployment, and then that deployment created pod, right? So same thing we are going to do it again, but last time we did it with the command, but this time we are going to create a deployment YAML file, and with that YAML file we are going to create a pod. So maybe let's search for Kubernetes deployments in the browser. And here in the Kubernetes documentation, you can see this deployment here. And I'm going to copy this deployment file and change it as per our need. So let's move to our application root, where maybe here, and here let's create one folder for our Kubernetes. So maybe I am giving name as K8s, and under this let me open this and let's create one file. That should be YAML file, and name, maybe I will say hello Kubernetes deployment.yaml. And let's open this file. And after opening, we are going to copy not this. We are going to copy this deployment examples mentioned in the Kubernetes documentation. So let's copy this and let's wait for it to open. And I'm going to paste it here. Let me copy again. Now let's paste it here. Now it is successful. Let's close this and let's understand each line of this. So here we can see that API version. So here we can define the version of our deployment file. So in this case, it is a apps, then v1. Kind is what type of resource we are going to create. So here we are creating a deployment. So it is a deployment. And under the metadata, we can add the metadata, that informations about the deployments we can edit. So our deployment name is, we can say it is Nginx deployments, and labels and the selectors are interconnected. So whenever we want to add the connections, like here we are adding a labels app Nginx, and then we want to in the specifications, when we are having this selectors here. So then we are saying that select labels, match that labels and select it, whatever the Nginx is there. So we are linking, basically we are linking this labels with this specifications here. And here in place of match labels, you can have even match expressions, and then you can define your expressions also, and based on that you can select the labels. And here in the replicas, how many replicas you want, so it will create the number of pods accordingly. So now, for now, let's change it to one only. And here you can define the templates for your pod, and similar way, like you can give the labels again here, and in the specifications you can define the container and pods specifications. So like what is the name and what is the image we are going to use it, and other steps of the pods, container, etc. You can define it here. So let's modify this file as per our need. So this is not Nginx deployment, this is our hello K8s deployment. So let's give name as hello K8s deployment, and app, maybe I will say .NET. And this should match with this mesh labels, right? So here also I should say .NET. Replica we have already changed to 1. Here also again maybe give the same name .NET, and this, and here we can define the specification about the pods. So containers, under the containers we can give the container name, maybe I will say hello K8s. And image name, this time we need to give the image of our Docker image what we push to Docker Hub. So let's go back to command, and here let me run docker images again, and here you can see this our image, right? So let's copy this image and let's paste it here, and port, if you will observe our docker file, let me go back here. So in the docker file we are exposing few port. Let me open and show you that as well. Yeah, so here we are exposing 8080 and 8081, so maybe, you know, I will say 8080 here, and let's save this. And apart from this, we need to define one more thing, and we need to define the environment variable. And a reason behind that, if you followed my previous video for Docker containers and other videos, we were not able to see the Swagger in the browser, right? Because Swagger was available only in the development environment. And if you are not going to specify, then it will create a build as a production environment, so that Swagger documentation will not be available. So there is a one way, like we can remove the conditions to allow Swagger for all the environment, or maybe we can add the environment variable here and say like create a container as a development environment. So maybe here, maybe I can show the first in the Visual Studio. So here in the code we can see that if environment is development, then only we are going to use the Swagger UI, right? So let's change this our YAML file and say that we are going to run as a development environment. So here we are going to say env, and under the env we are going to add the different environment variable. So maybe I will say name, and this will be spnet core underscore v environment, and value I will say development, and let's save this. So now we are ready to create our first pod with this YAML file. So let's go back to our terminal, and here we are at this location, right? So let's move under the K8s folder. So maybe I will say K8s. Let's clear this first for better visibility, and let's list it out. So here we are having this YAML file, right? So now we have two options. We are having two commands: kubectl create, and then we can give the file name that will create the pod, and other command is kubectl apply. So suppose if you are making any changes, so that apply will either create or update the files. So I usually prefer to use kubectl apply command. So whether we are updating or creating, that is taken care by that one command itself. So I prefer that. So I'm saying kubectl apply, then file, and what is the file name? We can give this YAML file here and paste it, and let's hit enter. So we can see that our deployment is created. Now let's run command kubectl get pods to list all the pods. So we can see that our hello K8s deployment is successfully created, and it is running. Maybe let's run kubectl get deployment. So we can see that we are having allocate as deployment and it is in the ready states. And maybe let's see all the labels. So if you will say show labels with the get pods, so it will, okay, so it will be labels. So here we can see the app.net label as well what we created. And there's a one more label created dynamically. So is we can see that our pod is running and our application is running on port 8080. So let's try to access if I'm able to access the Swagger documentation or not. So let's go back to browser here, and here I'm going to access it with the 8080 port, and I'm not able to access it. And reason, as we seen in the previous section also, because our application is running under the container and we did not expose it. There are some other mechanism what we are going to learn in the upcoming sessions. How can you expose your pod? But for now, to verify this, if you remember in the previous section for Nginx, uh, we uh, we got the shell inside the container, and then we try to access our Nginx, and we were able to successfully access it. So similar way we can try to access our .NET Web API Swagger page inside the container. So I'm going to use same command kubectl execute and it, and here I will say bin bash, and let's hit enter. Oh, so there's a one issue. I think I missed to give pod name, right? So I need to give even pod name also here. So this is our pod name. Let's copy and paste it here. And now let's hit enter. Oh, this is still, it should be kubectl. So yeah, now we are inside we got the shell inside the container. Let's try to run ls command to list out all the files, so we can see all the files are still there. And now if I will try to access curl, and let's hit enter, so we can see that curl is not found. So we need to install the curl first, and then we can access it, right? So let's try to install curl here. So apt get install curl, and let's hit enter. So we can see that we are not able to run it because we are not running this as a root user. You can see that permission denied error is there, and it is asking are you root? Maybe what user we are running, maybe we can check it, who am I? So we can see that we are running as a app. So let's do one thing, let's modify our Docker file, and let's in the Docker file we will do, we will change the user to root, we will install the curl, and then again we will change the user to app. So let's make these changes. So let's open our Docker file. So here is our Docker file, and let's go back to this GitHub. So here in the GitHub page, I have already mentioned these are the things we need to, like as we discussed, we will change the user to root. Then we will run command apt get update, and then apt get install curl, and then we will change the user again to app. So let's copy all these things and add this in our Docker file. So maybe here I will edit. Let's save this. And now let's come out of this. So here, I need to navigate to the project where we are having a solution. So here we are having solution file, right? So let's clear everything. And now again, we are going to create a new image. So docker build, that same command, tag, and before that, let's run docker images to showcase the old image. So we can see that this is our old image, right? And it is having a tag latest. Now I am going to run docker build, and here in the tag I will copy this same thing, and this time maybe let's give some tag. So maybe I will say v1, and then file name, it is under the hello Kubernetes folder, right? So hello Kubernetes slash docker file, and then add the dot here. So this will started building our new Docker image with the changes what we made it recently to change the user to root and then install curl and then again change the user back to the app user. So let's wait for that steps. You can see that few steps are cached because we did not make any changes on that steps, and it is going to run only for the steps where we made some changes. So let's wait, and here you can see that our total 18 steps are going to run. Out of that 12 are already completed and 6 are still pending. So here our it is building our applications, and then uh, it uh, it will continue for the remaining process. So wait for it. Then we can say that it is executing .NET publish command to publish our project to this path, and then we came to final copy steps. And also here we can see this apt get update and apt get installed via curl command is also executed, and this time curl is also installed with this image. So now let's push this to Docker Hub. So now let's list all the images. So this is a v1 what we created, right? So now let's push this image to Docker Hub. So we are going to use docker push command, and then we can copy this and paste it here. And what version we are going to use? Its a tag is v1. So after the colon we can give v1 here, and let's hit enter. So it started pushing this new changes to Docker Hub. And second changes we are going to make in our deployment file. So if you will come here, so here we have defined our image, right? So if you are not giving any tag, any version here, so then it is going to take latest one. But the changes we made on v1 version, so let's explicitly define the version here. So I am going to say v1 in the deployment file, and let's save this, and let's move back to our Docker push. So yeah, it is successfully pushed to Docker Hub. Maybe we can verify this on Docker Hub as well. So if you let me open Docker Hub. And also let's move to K8s folder because we are going to run deployment which is under the K8s folder, right? So let's move to K8s folder. Let's list out all the content here. So here we are having this deployment file where we just changed the image version. So now let's run kubectl get pods. So we can see that one out of one pod is running. Now we will use kubectl apply command to apply the changes whatever we made, right? And let's move to this Docker Hub. So now we can see that it is updated 1 minute ago. And if I will click on this, then it should show both the version, latest and V1. So let's move to text. So here we can see that latest and V1, both the version is available. So now let's run kubectl apply command and then file, let's copy this file and paste it here and let's hit enter. Okay, now let's run kubectl get pods command again. So uh, that new container is going to create and this old container is still running. So when this container will be up, then that other component is going to terminate. So there will be a zero downtime. Right, we can see that 5 seconds before that container creating status is in the container creating mode. Now let's wait for some time and if I will run kubectl get pods command again. So now we can see that our this container is running and other container we can see that it is in the terminating status. And if after some times if I will run kubectl get pods command again, so maybe that container will not be shown and only the latest container latest pod will be available in the list. So yeah, now we can see that only one pod is available. Now let's execute kubectl execute command and here let's copy our new pod name and then bin/bash and let's hit enter. So we received a shell inside the container. Now let's run ls command to list all the content, all the files and folders. So we can see it here. Now let's try to run curl. And if you remember, we earlier we tried to run this http localhost 8080 this swagger index.html, right? So and we were not this we were not able to access it outside and now we are trying to access it inside the container through curl. So let's paste this URL and hit enter. So yeah, this time previously we received a curl command not found error, but this time we can see that Swagger HTML page is rendered and we can see the response. So that's all for the spot sections. Uh, and now next thing is how we are going to expose this outside, right? Because if I want to access it outside, how can I access it? That's we are going to see in the upcoming session. But before we end, let's have a quick knowledge check. Yeah, so let's have knowledge check. And the first question is, what Kubernetes command used to create or update resources. And we are having a four options: kubectl apply, kubectl run, kubectl create, and kubectl save. And I will recommend maybe you can stop your video now and post your answer in the comment box. For example, question one answer is kubectl create, kubectl run, kubectl save, or anything, whatever you think that you can share uh, in the comment box. And you have 10 seconds for this, and your time starts now. Okay, so time up. So correct answer is kubectl apply. So we discussed, right? There's a two command, kubectl apply and kubectl create. Create will only create the resources, but kubectl apply will create or update. For example, initially we created a pod deployment and pod, but when we made some changes, then again when we executed kubectl apply, it was used to update our resources as well. Now let's moving to question two. What is a command used to push repository to Docker Hub? So remember we push our repository to Docker Hub. So what is the command we used? Number one is Docker pull. Number two is Docker commit. Number three is Docker push up. Number four is Docker push. So you have 10 seconds to answer. Your time starts now. Okay, time up. So correct answer is Docker push. Now moving to next question. If replica is set to 3, how many pods will be created? So remember when initially replica was 3 there, then we changed it to 1. So just think about the discussions and then see how many pods will be created when we change the replica. And you have 10 seconds for that now, and your time starts now. Okay, time up. So correct answer is 3. And let's select this. So that's all for this section of the video, and soon we are going to push the next video, and then we will expose our pods to outside world. And there are many more interesting stuff coming in the upcoming video. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, and if you like it, so then please subscribe, and please share your valuable feedback in the comment box, and please don't forget to hit on like button. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.